3 weeks ago, a dealership owner in Ohio sent me a text that changed how I see the entire automotive industry. He said, "I just sold a $48,000 vehicle for $19,500. Customer walked in at noon. Keys in hand by 1 p.m. I lost $8,000 on that deal." I asked him the obvious question, "Why would you do that?" His answer haunted me, because losing $8,000 today costs me less than losing $15,000 next month when that same car depreciates sitting on my lot. That single conversation revealed something massive. Something dealers won't talk about on camera. Something manufacturers are desperately hiding. And something that's about to reshape everything you thought you understood about car values, brand trust, and the entire automotive future. Act 1. The invisible crisis. For decades, car companies sold us a story. They said, "Buy our vehicles and you own an investment. Hold that value. Trust our reliability. Pay our premium prices because premium engineering justifies premium cost." That was the contract. That was the promise they made to every beer who walked into a showroom. Then the contract broke. Nobody announced it. CEOs didn't hold emergency conferences. Manufacturers didn't issue statements. What happened instead was far more sinister. It happened quietly. It happened in shadows. It happened across dealership lots in suburbs and cities and rural towns all across America. Inventory started piling up. At first, just noticeable extra cars sitting. Rows that should have been empty, but then weeks became months. Months became something nobody wanted to admit out loud. By late 2024, dealership lots looked like automotive graveyards. Vehicles that should sell in 30 days were still there after 120 days. Some after 180 days, some after an entire year. The economics became impossible to ignore. Every single day a car sits on a lot, it bleeds money, storage fees, lot interest, depreciation, insurance. The longer it sits, the faster the bleeding accelerates. These dealers were hemorrhaging at rates they'd never experienced. Rates that threatened their survival. What happened next was inevitable. They started cutting prices. Not seasonal promotions, not year-end clearances. This was different. This was panic. This was desperation in dollar form. The kind of pricing you use when you're fighting for your business itself. A dealer in Michigan started with $3,000 off. Didn't move anything. They went to $5,000. Still nothing. Then $8,000. Then $12,000. By the time they'd slashed $15,000 off vehicles that were supposed to carry healthy margins, they realized something that kept them up at night. Nobody wanted these cars. Not at any price. The crisis wasn't about pricing strategy. The crisis was about trust evaporating. Act 1. The invisible crisis. For decades, car companies sold us a story. They said, "Buy our vehicles and you own an investment. Hold that value. Trust our reliability. Pay our premium prices because premium engineering justifies premium cost." That was the contract. That was the promise they made to every beer who walked into a showroom. Then the contract broke. Nobody announced it. CEOs didn't hold emergency conferences. Manufacturers didn't issue statements. What happened instead was far more sinister. It happened quietly. It happened in shadows. It happened across dealership lots in suburbs and cities and rural towns all across America. Inventory started piling up. At first, just noticeable extra cars sitting. Rows that should have been empty, but then weeks became months. Months became something nobody wanted to admit out loud. By late 2024, dealership lots looked like automotive graveyards. Vehicles that should sell in 30 days were still there after 120 days. Some after 180 days, some after an entire year. The economics became impossible to ignore. Every single day a car sits on a lot, it bleeds money, storage fees, lot interest, depreciation, insurance. The longer it sits, the faster the bleeding accelerates. These dealers were hemorrhaging at rates they'd never experienced. Rates that threatened their survival. What happened next was inevitable. They started cutting prices. Not seasonal promotions, not year-end clearances. This was different. This was panic. This was desperation in dollar form. The kind of pricing you use when you're fighting for your business itself. A dealer in Michigan started with $3,000 off. Didn't move anything, they went to $5,000. Still nothing. Then $8,000, then $12,000. By the time they'd slashed $15,000 off vehicles that were supposed to carry healthy margins, they realized something that kept them up at night. Nobody wanted these cars. Not at any price. The crisis wasn't about pricing strategy. The crisis was about trust evaporating. Brand 2, Chrysler's story is darker because there's almost nothing left to tell. The brand that once defined American automotive ambition now offers one vehicle, the Pacifica minivan. That's the entire universe of Chrysler products. That's it. The 300 sedan? Discontinued, the Voyager. Gone, the PT Cruiser? Extinct, the Sebring, long eliminated. Once, Chrysler built sedans and crossovers and minivans and trucks. They had a portfolio, they had options. They had an identity built on diversity. Now they build a minivan. And maybe a sedan that's essentially a museum exhibit from 2011. Parent company Stellantis made a strategic decision: abandon Chrysler. Shift resources toward Jeep and Ram, divisions that generate better margins and command global appeal. Internal budget documents show less than 3% of development funding goes to Chrysler products. The company has effectively placed the entire brand on life support. Dealers who signed franchise agreements thinking they were building long-term businesses discovered the nightmare. They're stuck selling one vehicle type in markets that don't want minivans. The economics are impossible. A dealership that thrives on diversity can't survive on singularity. Different products attract different customers. Different vehicles create multiple selling opportunities. Different segments generate healthier margins. But Chrysler dealers have one vehicle. They're fighting for survival with the only tool remaining: aggressive discounting. Pacificas that should sell for $45,000 are now priced at $30,000. Some dealers are offering $10,000 off MSRP. Others are bundling extended warranties and maintenance packages just to create the psychological illusion of added value. Financing stretches to 84 months at 0% interest because if the monthly payment looks manageable, customers might ignore the reality of what they're actually buying. But the math reveals the cruelty. At 84 months with aggressive rebates, dealers are essentially paying customers to drive away in Chryslers. And they're doing it because the alternative inventory depreciating in parking lots destroys them faster. Industry insiders confirm the death watch has begun. Stellantis internal documents reveal the company has already declined to approve significant platform investments specifically for Chrysler-branded products beyond 2026. Manufacturing facilities primarily producing Chrysler vehicles have seen renewal budgets slashed by over 60%. It's not speculation, it's preparation for a planned wind down. Brand 3, Mazda's situation is quietly tragic because the failure has nothing to do with product quality. Automotive journalists consistently rank Mazda among the best built, most engaging to drive vehicles on the market. The cars are genuinely excellent. They're reliable, they're well designed. The problem isn't the product. The problem is the world doesn't know Mazda exists. A decade ago, Mazda's average customer was 45 years old. Today, that customer is 56 years old. The brand is aging with its existing beer base while completely failing to attract younger consumers who should be replacing them generationally. The demographic curve points in one direction: extinction. Compound this nightmare with structural disadvantages that aren't fixable. Mazda's parent company lacks the economies of scale Toyota enjoys, lacks the financial firepower of Volkswagen, lacks the market penetration of Honda. That means higher production costs on every single vehicle manufactured. Higher costs create a trap. Either lower profit margins that destroy dealership economics, or higher prices that destroy consumer demand. Mazda chose neither path successfully. They're caught between both, bleeding from both wounds simultaneously. Dealerships, watching their lots fill with unsold inventory, started getting creative in desperation. They bundled extended warranties worth $2,500 into every purchase. Offered 5 years of free maintenance as standard. One dealer group started including prepaid gas cards worth $2,000 with each sale. Another dealer started offering $500 rebates just for walking through the door to take a test drive. All of this bundling disguised the true depth of price cuts customers were actually receiving. Mazda vehicles that should have sold for $28,000 were effectively selling for $21,000 or less when you factored in warranty packages, maintenance plans, rebates, and incentives. The brand exists in an uncomfortable middle ground that satisfies nobody. Too expensive to compete directly with Honda and Hyundai for mainstream buyers. Too mainstream to challenge Audi or BMW for luxury buyers. Increasingly invisible to consumers who need a reason to choose between competing options. Mazda has no reason to exist in 2025 except inertia. Brand 4, Jeep's decline is happening in real time, visible to anyone paying attention. The brand constructed its entire identity around a single promise: reliability in extreme conditions. Go anywhere, do anything, conquer. The rugged Jeep was lifestyle, not transportation. Heritage, not commodity, that promise was sacred. Then the reliability disappeared, not occasional recalls, not isolated incidents. A relentless, continuous wave of recalls affecting powertrains, electrical systems, transmissions, even basic safety features. Each recall chipped away at the brand's foundation like water eroding stone. Each one spawned another story on social media. Each one made another potential customer pause at the dealership door. Worse, something unexpected happened with lease returns. Jeep owners facing rising repair costs started walking away from their leases rather than buying them out or negotiating new lease agreements. The loyalty that Jeep cultivated for decades, the emotional connection that kept owners coming back, evaporated almost overnight. Dealerships found themselves drowning in off-lease vehicles they couldn't move. The secondary market got flooded with returned Jeeps. Wholesale prices collapsed. Used Jeep values plummeted faster than dealers expected. Suddenly, selling new Jeeps required discounts exceeding $10,000 just to generate customer interest in a market that was losing faith. The brand that once commanded premium prices is now fighting just to complete transactions. Warranty claim data reveals vehicles experiencing 30% more problems in their first 3 years compared to segment averages. Modern Jeeps are spending more time in service departments than on roads. The go-anywhere reliability has transformed into the go-to-the-dealer reliability. Social media groups that once celebrated Jeep adventures now primarily document mechanical failures and repair strategies. Owner forums have transformed from lifestyle communities into technical support boards where owners warn others about specific problems to expect. This perception shift is permanent. It can't be marketed away. Brand 5, Buick's invisibility has become almost an asset in one twisted way. When nobody notices you, there's nothing left to hurt. General Motors keeps Buick alive in North America for one reason only: the brand remains profitable in China. Over 80% of Buick's global sales come from the Chinese market, where the nameplate carries prestige and cultural significance it abandoned decades ago in America. General Motors is essentially running Buick as a ghost operation in the US. Minimal investment, minimal marketing, minimal new product development. They be letting it slowly fade while the Chinese operation generates profits that justify keeping the skeleton crew employed. Dealers who signed franchise agreements years ago, believing they were making long-term investments, discovered the nightmare. They restuck with expensive showrooms that see customer traffic measured in dozens rather than hundreds. The average Buick beer is now over 65 years old. There's no pipeline of younger customers replacing them as they age out of the market. Buick has no presence in the consideration sets of buyers under 40. The brand is aging to death. Discounts have become so aggressive they border on absurd in their desperation. Dealers are offering trade-in allowances that exceed actual vehicle values by thousands of dollars. Employee pricing is now offered to literally everyone, all the time, removing any sense that customers are receiving special treatment. Finance offers of 0% for 84 months plus cash allowances exceeding $5,000 are becoming standard, not exceptional offers. The Chinese strategy works. The American strategy is death by attrition. Brand 6, Infiniti entered the American market at exactly the same moment as Lexus. Both brands were positioned identically, Japanese luxury alternatives to German dominance and pricing. Lexus thrived and established itself as a genuine premium brand with genuine customer loyalty and genuine prestige. Infiniti has been dying in slow motion for 15 years. The innovation stopped happening entirely. The QX50 crossover platform dates back to 2013. The Q50 sedan is from 2014. The QX80 SUV is running on 2010 architecture. While competitors like Mercedes released completely redesigned platforms, while Audi revolutionized their lineups, while BMW transformed their technology, Infiniti released slightly refreshed versions of decade-old cars. This wasn't strategy, this was corporate neglect disguised as incremental improvement. Parent company Nissan, drowning in its own transmission crisis and inventory nightmare, couldn't fund the product development Infiniti desperately needed. Infiniti watches from the sidelines while competitors invest billions in electrification and autonomous driving capabilities and infotainment innovation. Infiniti offers nothing new, nothing competitive, nothing that justifies premium pricing. The luxury market rewards innovation, it rewards exclusivity. It rewards something that makes ownership feel special. It punishes discounting because discounts signal desperation to premium buyers who pay for confidence in brand value. But discounting is all Infiniti has now. Incentives on models like the QX60 routinely exceed $10,000. Lease specials match mainstream brand payment levels. Premium positioning isn't just eroding, it's already erased. Infiniti sells vehicles that look like luxury but feel like mainstream at prices that consumers increasingly question. Dealer networks are contracting visibly. Multiple Infiniti retailers abandoned standalone showrooms for shared space with Nissan dealerships. Service utilization has collapsed because the existing customer base is aging and shrinking. Many dealerships operated at a net loss in 2023, surviving only on service revenue from an aging customer base that diminishes every year. Infiniti has become what Lexus defeated, a luxury brand that nobody believes in anymore. Brand 8. Jaguar's story is almost Shakespearean in its tragic downfall. The brand attempted to lead the luxury electric vehicle revolution. The I-Pace was conceived as their answer to Tesla, their bold statement that Jaguar belonged in the electrified future. It won design awards. It earned engineering praise from respectable publications. It was supposed to transform the company into a technology leader. Nobody wanted it. Despite millions in development and aggressive marketing campaigns, the I-Pace moved fewer than 2,000 units annually in North America. Tesla's Model Y sells more in a single week. Porsche's electric offerings outsold it consistently. Even upstart Rivian outpaced Jaguar, the most important market segment for the future. The failure triggered a cascade of consequences that accelerated everything. Jaguar's North American sales plummeted to multi-decade lows. Some quarters show year-over-year declines exceeding 40%. The brand that once sold 30,000 vehicles annually in the US now struggles to move 10,000 units. Some months record fewer than 500 deliveries nationwide. Fewer than 500 vehicles delivered across an entire nation in a single month. Parent company Tata Motors, facing mounting pressure, made an unprecedented strategic decision. They announced Jaguar would become an all-electric-only luxury brand by 2025, later extended to 2030. This pivot created immediate market confusion. Why would consumers buy gas-powered Jaguars when the manufacturer itself had publicly declared the technology obsolete? The cognitive dissonance destroyed consumer confidence overnight. Dealers responded to this chaos by entering full liquidation mode. Lease specials that were previously $799 per month dropped to $399 monthly with minimal down payment. The F-Pace, once positioned as a direct BMW competitor, is now available at payment levels matching economy sedans. Residual values tell the painful story. Jaguar is essentially admitting its vehicles will depreciate over 70% in just 3 years. Warranty claim data reveals Jaguar vehicles experience 30% more problems in their first 3 years compared to the luxury segment average. The heritage taxier paying premium prices for British luxury prestige while actually receiving an Indian-owned, reliability-challenged vehicle has become impossible to maintain. Jaguar's disconnect between brand image and ownership reality has created a crisis of confidence among luxury buyers who can afford better alternatives. Brand 9. Lucid Motors. The final brand isn't a traditional automaker. Lucid Motors isn't an established nameplate fighting to survive a market shift. It's a modern startup attempting to disrupt luxury electric vehicles. It's also burning cash like nothing the automotive industry has witnessed in recent history. The company loses approximately $500 million every single quarter. That's not a temporary loss during a transition period. That's not an investment in future growth that Wall Street accepts from startups. That's a company spending roughly $167 million every day just to operate. Every single day, every single week, every single month. Those accumulated losses have mounted to billions of dollars while production remains a fraction of projections. The company promised 20,000 vehicles in 2023 and delivered fewer than 8,500. Similar shortfalls have continued into 2024 and 2025. Each vehicle reportedly costs significantly more to produce than its selling price. Lucid is losing money on every single car that leaves the factory. The business model is fundamentally broken. The service crisis is equally devastating and equally urgent. With fewer than 40 service centers nationwide compared to Tesla's 100+ locations and traditional luxury brands' 300 to 400 service facilities, owners report waiting weeks for appointments. Multiple owner forums document vehicles rendered completely undrivable for 30+ days while awaiting components or technical expertise. This service inadequacy has generated substantial negative word of mouth within the luxury electric vehicle community, effectively poisoning the brand's reputation among its target demographic of early adopting affluent consumers. Owner retention data reveals the nightmare scenario. Fewer than 30% of original Lucid Air purchasers plan to buy another vehicle from the company for their next purchase. For a luxury brand, retention rates should exceed 65%. The warranty claim data shows persistent software glitches, quality control inconsistencies, and service experiences that fall dramatically short of luxury standards customers expect. Venture capital investors, once enthusiastically backing luxury electric startups, have become highly discriminating following high-profile failures like Faraday Future and Byton. Lucid's Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund backers have reportedly indicated reluctance to continue funding the company as astronomical. The reality check the dealership owner who texted me about that $48,000 vehicle he sold for $19,500? He sent me another message last week. He said, "I know 3 other dealers on my street who are closing in the next 12 months. The inventory problem is terminal. We're not selling cars anymore. We're liquidating time before the lights actually go out." That's not speculation. That's not doomsaying from an industry pessimist. That's an experienced dealer principal looking at his spreadsheet and seeing bankruptcy approaching in the numbers. The automotive landscape is transforming fundamentally. These 9 brands are visible casualties of that transformation. But they won't be the last, more will follow. The consolidation will continue. The weak will disappear. If you're thinking about buying from any of these brands right now, pause for a moment. Ask yourself serious questions. Ask yourself why these prices are so low. Ask yourself why the dealer is so eager to complete the sale today.